Meltology. Meltology. Give me a break, it's 4 minutes, Nick. But, anywho, you might be thinking, you might be saying to yourself, well, no, pants on, I wanted to know more about those Ice Age erratics. Well, Nick, why don't you tell us about the Wenatchee Megafloods, okay? Tell us about the Wenatchee Megafloods. And, no funny business. And tell us about the Wenatchee Megafloods.
Hello, young people.
Young people.
The Ice Age floods at Wenatchee, Washington.
At the Wenatchee
Columbia
River Valley. We are at the Wenatchee River Valley in Wenatchee, Washington. And what we're going to be looking at here is, in this basin here, is some evidence, great evidence, rather, of melted buildings. Now, what Mr. Nick here is going to tell us is that these were all floated in 600 feet high of water on icebergs, on ice cubes, floating around and depositing themselves in said melt, in said buildings, in the background and all over the place, because these erratics are found all scattered about, up high, down below, in place, melted in place, buildings melted in motherfucking place. So that's what we're going to look into here. Continue, Nick.
And the foothills.
Oh, excuse me, Nick. And I want to make note. Just pay attention to the backgrounds, the scenery, and the melt. We have melt coming off of these buildings, flowing off of these buildings, away from the buildings. Heat coming from the bottom up. And these buildings are smoked, damaged, and left as piles of ash, baby. But there are distinguishable remnants which still do show structure. And I want you just to take note of that and to look out for that as we move along here in this 4-minute geology video. It's 4 minutes, Nick. And it's meltology, not geology. I sing your song better than you do too. Give me a break.
There's a great Ice Age floods geology story here.
Now that's important. He tells us that there is a great... Did you hear what he said? Let's back up. Nick.
There's a great Ice Age floods geology story here.
Ice Age floods geology story here. There's a great Ice Age floods geology story here. What does that mean? Look at the building here, by the way. Look at the building with the bricks. Look at the building with the bricks. Look at the building with the bricks. Give me a motherfucking break. Okay, this is ridiculous. And these were not deposited on iceberg ice rafts. Give me a break. A berg that, and it was floating in 600 feet of water, he says. He will tell us. And look at the bricks in the wall still. For fuck's sake. Do you see the bricks? Do you see the bricks? Let me get my labels here. Look in here. What do you see? Okay, let's move on. Nick.
And the Columbia River is part of it. Mainly deposits, though. We're not talking about ripping up the ground by the floods here. We're talking about depositing material out.
If you have your nose that far into the melt and you don't see what's happening here, with the red underneath here, the carbon-14 still present underneath, being scored out on the outside worse than the inside here, and this melt coming from the bottom up, overturning these buildings, and just look at the melt here. Look at the damage. And we have rows of bricks here present still, in place, present. Some of it slumping down and melting over the structure itself, but still holding its integrity with this right angle here, and all these mortar lines. Equidistant. Give me a motherfucking break. He's got his nose in the hand on the melt. Get your greasy hands off the melt. And notice how he has the hammer. Notice how he's holding the hammer. Absolutely incorrect. This is a cardinal sin. This is a cardinal sin in the trade, mind you. Not looking good, Nick.
Of the Ice Age flood water. Upstream from Wenatchee, the Okanagan Glacier, an ice sheet came down from Canada and blocked the Columbia, sending water into the Grand Coulee and over Dry Falls.
Oh, so into the Grand Coulee. So this is what happened. Now here's what he's going to tell us. Because this ice sheet came down, it blocked the Ice Age destruction and the power of the Ice Age floods from destroying Wenatchee. But we have an issue here, because in Wenatchee we have erratics all over the joint. All over the motherfucking joint. And so he's going to explain to us how that was, or how that came to be. Let me back up a bit here and let's move on.
Canada and block the Columbia, sending water into the Grand Coulee and over Dry Falls, and protecting Wenatchee from the power of these Ice Age floods. But there were times during the Ice Age that the Okanagan was not there.
There was times where it was not there. He doesn't tell us when or why that is or how that is, but it is.
And the Ice Age floods could come all the way down the Columbia River, around the Horn, and down over the city of Wenatchee.
So there was a time when the floods could come around, over, and make twists and bends unto the city of Wenatchee. And we have Melt here with mortar lines present. Mortar lines present in the Melt, in under the Melt at different angles here. It's just a muffed up mess. A muffed up mess with the mortar lines present turned into quartz and other said minerals. In a pipe sticking out of the ground here. Give me a break. Where's that bucket? Either way, it's anomalous. So, what else you got, Nick?
65-mile-an-hour water, 1,000 feet deep. There's more to the story.
Oh, 1,000 feet deep.
The Columbia Valley is narrow upstream from Wenatchee, cut into...
Look at the Melt. And where the flow... Look at the direction of the flow here. Do you see what happened here? The flow melting off of the buildings. Here is the water reservoir, the original water reservoir right here. It's still here, baby. And they were a water people. They came out of the water. They crawled, and the Phoenicians, they crawled out of the water like snails, and all sorts of hell broke loose, baby. They crawled out of the waters like snails.
Stubborn metamorphic rock called gneiss.
It's called gneiss. That's important.
Columbia Valley downstream from Wenatchee, cut into basalt. But here at Wenatchee, the basin is open. It's broad.
How did it cut into the basalt? You didn't answer that question. How did it cut into the basalt? Right, that's my question. How did it cut into the basalt? And you didn't answer that question.
Cut into basalt. But here at Wenatchee, the basin is open. It's broad. So the Ice Age floodwaters coming down the Columbia slowed here. Filled this basin and waited their turn to exit south through the narrow canyon.
So the icebergs slowed and waited their turn to enter into Wenatchee and start depositing themselves all over said mountains and melt the buildings in the background that you see there. And that's the story we get.
That means that we had water creeping up neighboring valleys, as well as depositing truly giant flood bars, the most famous of which is Pangbourne Bar.
Get a load of this.
Deposited on the inside curve of the Ice Age floods.
Are you kidding me, Nicholas? I see 3 buildings here. 1, 2, and 3. Or 2 buildings. 2 big, giant fucking buildings here. With right angles. And the melt is coming off the buildings, sloping off the buildings, away from the buildings, crumbled into rubble. It's slumping. And we got maybe a pocket of survival here. We might have a pocket of survival right here. Right in the middle of said melt. Give me a break. Could be. Might not be. Could be.
Pile of rock 600 feet high.
For
high water
fuck's
mark
sake.
above Pangbourne Bar, 1,700 feet in elevation. That means we had so much water here that the water started to slowly creep up to the west, the Wenatchee River Valley.
Oh, so there was so much water that it decided to hang a left instead and go to Wenatchee because there was so much water here. And look at the buildings in the background. Holy smokes. Are you kidding me? Look at this one here. With a pyramidian roof on it. This is ridiculous. Redonkulous.
At slack waters over Kashmir, Dryden, Peshastin, Ice Age.
Look at the building. For fuck's sake. This is a bent pyramid here. This is a bent pyramid. They make all the biggest fuss about the bent pyramid in Egypt. Okay, the bent pyramid in Egypt. We have a bent pyramid here in Wenatchee, Washington. Right here in Wenatchee. Right here in Wenatchee. Make a big deal about that one in Egypt. They're buildings.
Getting all the way up.
These are beautiful old world Tudors here as well.
To the Cascades as far as Leavenworth. Have you heard this before?
No, I haven't.
Heck, there's ice at this time up at Leavenworth coming out of the icicle drainage, and yet we've got ice.
Keyword, icicle drainage. Coming out of the icicle drainage. Start that over, Nick. Tell us that again.
Way up into the Cascades as far as Leavenworth. Have you heard this before? Heck, there's ice at this time up at Leavenworth coming out of the icicle drainage, and yet we've got Ice Age floodwater lapping up against that glacier? That's quite a story. What evidence do we have for that?
Bingo. That's quite a story. What evidence do we have for that? And a smug bug look. We know what you're up to. Give me a fucking break. This is not okay. This is not okay. This is not okay. And you're lying to children. And you're lying to children too. Mr. Mr. Fancy Bow here. Okay? Give me a break. Give me a break with your smug bug look. With your smug bug look. Oh, it's coming, baby.
We've used Ice Age flood erratics and rhythmites to reconstruct this part of the story.
We've used Ice Age the geologists, have used Ice Age erratics to reconstruct this part of the story. Do we need to replay that again? Yes, we do.
After that, we've used Ice Age flood erratics and rhythmites to reconstruct this part of the story.
Reconstruct this part of the story, because it already had an original construction. It's been tampered with. They've reconstructed our history, and this is a part of the bullshit story that he's telling us. This is a part of what we added into the story. We reconstructed with this bullshit, the erratics, into your history. He tells us flat out. So at least he's telling us the truth about what they're doing here and what's going on here. But you might miss that. You could have easily missed that, couldn't you have? I could have missed that. I could have missed that easily. But we're not missing stuff anymore, baby. Our eyes are open and we're awake. Awake.
Erratics, light-colored boulders, scattered on the hillsides here in the Wenatchee River Valley.
Stripped of their carbon-14, left ashen white and gray.
Up to 300 feet above the river are those boulders. Up to 600 feet above the river here at Wenatchee.
For fuck's sake.
We've got these ice-rafted erratics.
So they have ice-rafted erratics 600 feet up in elevation. So they say, in Wenatchee. With the buildings in the background, with the buildings in the motherfucking background. Showcased out. Domes and roofs and all, and look at these buildings. So there was two big ones on either end and two small ones in the middle. You see that? Look right here. There were two big ones and two small ones in between. You see those? They're buildings. One here, two small ones in the middle. And that's an accident. With a huge water feature out here supporting the huge water reservoir supporting the plumbing and the irrigation and the water needs in these buildings.
Telling us where the high water mark was of this quiet bathtub water working its way up the Wenatchee River. In fact, all the beautiful orchards that are in the floor of the Wenatchee Valley are on Ice Age flood deposits. Those are the rhythmites, fine-grained, chalky sedimentary material.
Notice how the geologist here has come with no brush, and he will have to be using his fingers here to wipe away the rubble, the melt, the C14 away from whatever he's digging at here. I don't know what he's doing. Making a little den or something. I don't know.
Deposit at the bottom.
And we're wiping with our with our hands.
Each
No brush.
prismite, talking about an individual flood event. And maybe not all of the water surging up the Wenatchee River Valley is coming from the north.
Then where's it coming from?
Moses Coulee's not very far away.
No, it's Moses Gully, by the way, first of all. And it did not come from Moses Gully. We just looked at Moses Gully. It's void of water, and that's bullshit. That's why it's a gully, because there's no visible signs or remnants of any water at its base, in the basin of it. Not looking good, Nick.
And there was a big, broad, giant flood bar that sealed off the mouth of Moses Coulee.
Yeah, those buildings that we just saw.
That trapped water and sent more.
Look at the building. Look at the bricks. He's knocking bricks off, defacing the building, and watch this. He almost loses his eyes and his teeth here in a moment. Watch this. Because he knows not what he does with that hammer. Look how he's holding the hammer. Look at how he's holding that hammer. This is dangerous. And watch this. It's going like... He's not even real. This guy's not even real. It's going through his arm. Okay, so he's not even real, first of all. It's just a computer program, likely. And watch this. This is rich right here. How he ends it.
Upstream and into the
Wenatchee.
Wenatchee
We're picking bricks
area.
apart, and look at this. Look at that. He almost lost his eyes and his teeth.
Or slack water upstream and into the Wenatchee area.
Okay, that hammer just almost cleared through his front teeth right there. He is so close. He has no safety glasses on, and he is smacking away at the melt here, at these bricks, which you can see here are still in rows, and he is smacking away at the bricks, holding the hammer wrong. Chips are going to come flying into his eyes, and he's about to smack through his motherfucking teeth.
The Ice Age floods at Wenatchee, Washington. It's all out here to see. Coulee's rocks and canyons is scenery. Right here for you and me. 2-minute geology.
Meltology.